Alright, today we have this UMAX APUS 3000. I forget what they call them otherwise. But yeah. They sold these in Europe and Asia and basically outside of Japan. If I figure out the name, I'll put it on the screen. Might have been like the Supermax C series or something. I don't remember. Anyway, so I bought this because it was on eBay and it was non-working and it was probably a little more expensive than it should have been, but you don't see these every day, so whatever. So the dude said, I say dude because I'm pretty sure it was a dude. He kind of put his name on here. Not too many females I know go by Dita. But anyway, so the guy said, started off, it would turn on and then it would just sit there. It wouldn't chime or put anything on the screen or basically do any sign of life other than turn on the LED. So he recapped it. You can kind of sort of see a little bit in there. So all these E-caps, some of them look like they got little red stripes on them. So they did a serviceable job. A few of them over here are pretty difficult to get to. I don't know who engineered this, but I would like to smack them in the face because it's extremely difficult to get to these without, as Dita did, burning some of the plastic. I nicked this one, I think. But anyway, a couple over to here looked like they might not have been properly seated. And this one, I don't think anyone can really see it, but the trace is kind of weird under there. So I thought it had been lifted a pad, but no, it just does a weird jog for some reason. Again, I don't know. Someone who was engineering this was having some fun. This thing's also weird because floppy connector here, floppy connector there. You can't have two floppies, it's just one's for a remote, but I don't know. The floppy lives here. I don't see why plugging it in here versus right here, because this goes right there, is gonna, offer any sort of benefits at all. Maybe this was in the way of some cooling or something and they thought it'd be better to not do that. Anyway, so I got it. After the guy had gone through it and recapped it. Yeah, he said that it would no longer power up at all. He suspected the power supply. But he said it was outputting all the right voltages and whatnot. But yeah, he just gave up. So I got it, and sure enough, no sign of life, period. So I pulled the power supply because, nearly 30-year-old power supplies, they tend to die. So this resistor in there was looking a little burnt. So it still reads 100 ohms like it's supposed to. I compared it with another power supply, and the burnt section has a brown stripe. FYI, these are more or less the same power supplies as the S900 / Pulsar models. So it's just the Pulsars have 50 more watts than these do. This is the 200 watt unit. Anyway, so I compared it and I put in a, instead of just this standard carbon resistor, because I didn't have one that large, I used a metal oxide type, which should be able to handle the power, hopefully a little better than that one did. But yeah, the power supply looked okay. So I looked around a little more and, poking and poking. And then I decided that, I was going to take a few bits off and try to power it up without the switch. So I come in here and I short the power lead Ta-da! Because it turns out, at some point, which one of these is which? You. The power switch. Okay, it's making a liar out of me. But the power switch wasn't working. I may still replace it, because I've got extras. But that was the whole deal. Yeah, see, now it's not shutting it down. Yeah, the power switch is wonky. So, don't let stuff like the power switches go overlooked. So, ta-da! Now it works, and you heard it chime. So, I'm just kind of going over troubleshooting with these machines, right? So this is an Alchemy-based system. You know, it's one of UMAX's little special deals. Both this and the smaller APUS 2000 have the same logic board. It's just this 3000's, you know, obviously larger. It's got more cards. It's got more drive bays. So it's just more bigger, more or less. But yeah, they're Alchemy based. So they've got the Valkyrie AR video controller. They've got the PSX memory / PCI bridge. They've got a 603. I don't know if you could get these with a 604 or not. They do have UMAX's special little removable processor. But yeah, otherwise they're the same as the Apple's 6400 and other machines based on that. So it's just that this isn't a drawer, it's, you know, a big board here. Power Computing made a similar one. I think it was the Power Wave. Except they omit the Valkyrie chip, and they put an ATI chip on there. Because the Valkyrie AR, while it was good when it came out with the Quadra 630 and the original Valkyrie spec, by 1996, 1 meg of video RAM was not particularly good. So, I mean, the Valkyrie AR is just the Valkyrie chip migrated from the 040 bus to the PowerPC bus. So this is slightly faster than an equivalent PCI card because it runs at full bus frequency and it's attached directly to the processor bus. So there's no PCI arbitration, and PCI would only be at 33 megahertz anyway. But a meg of video memory is just not enough by then. And there's no, the core of this chip does not really support any larger than 1 megabyte video system. So you can't just turtle these and get 2 megs or anything. It's just not gonna support it. Anyway, so like most other Alchemy boards, it's got onboard meg. I think this is 8 megs, and then it's got a couple of 5 volts buffered DRAM DIMMs here, level 2 cache slot, some ROMs. This is basically the bus interface controller there. Yeah, sound controls up there. So these, unlike what some people might tell you, do not require a PRAM battery to boot. They prefer a PRAM battery, but they don't need one because these use soft power, which means that as soon as you plug it into the wall, it's getting a 5-volt trickle, which is basically what the battery does. Is it just gives trickle power to the CUDA chip over here, and that's it. I mean, the trickle power does the same thing. So there's no need for a battery. It'll work fine without it. You just plug it in, count to 30, and then press the power button, and it should be fine. I mean, obviously, if you unplug it from the wall, it's going to lose your date and time and whatnot. But if it's plugged in 24/7, it doesn't matter at all. So basic troubleshooting for these is if they turn on and they just sit there and do nothing else, like either there's no chime or there's a chime and then they just sit there, take out everything. Leave the processor, but definitely take out the level 2 cache DIMM and any extra memory and extra PCI cards. Usually that will get these things to jumpstart and get going. Occasionally disk drives will hang it, like stuff on the SCSI bus, but and if you want to test one of these without a to see if they're actually doing something, the best thing to do is plug in your floppy drive here, like so, turn it on, and pop in a disk. I usually use something like this so that both A, the drive isn't damaged by a bad disk, and B, you don't chew up a good disk with a bad drive. So just pop it in. And if it spits it out like that, that means the system tried to read it, like it's aware enough of itself that it tried to boot off of this disk and it couldn't find anything, so it spat it out. If you put it in here and it just sits, or it might just twitch for a sec, and nothing else happens, it just twitches and then stops, then it's probably got some issues. So you may want to try like Dicha did and recap it. So, but obviously this one is aware of its function. There's no heat here. This heat sink is massive for a 603. If you've ever seen internally on most of these other boards, the 603s normally have that little quad-finned, little stamped aluminum thing. But this is more than adequate on here. Yeah, this clearly works now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch out the switch on here. I'm probably just going to solder in a new one. And then I'll put all this back together and we'll see if it comes on. All right, let's put this thing back together a little bit. Power LED, power switching. Still works. Seems like it does. Cool. All right. We already gave the floppy drive a little bit of a going over, so it should be fine. Where's the screw? cooperative thing. What is keeping you in the thing? Just stubborn. All right. One of the reasons I overpaid for this thing is it came with 2 hard drives. So by nature of this particular machine, one of those basically had to be SCSI. So it was generally worth it. And it came with this Micropolis Tomahawk. So I don't know what happened with Micropolis. If they just kind of dissolved organically, or if they were bought out, if there was some scandal. But they were okay drives. I mean, basically, if you were doing AV work in the mid-90s, you wanted a Micropolis drive or a high-end Seagate or something. But these things always ran really hot, and they wanted a lot of power. I suspect that this power supply was slightly exceeded its rating, because this drive alone, 1.2 amps on the 5-volt line. That is a lot. The other hard drive that came in here, this little Samsung deal, wants half an amp. So that thing wants more than twice the power. Granted, it's probably at least twice as fast. This is a Samsung winner. Ooh. I think this is the same one that came in the machine, because both the date code and the capacity suggests that it was. There are no like Samsung or UMAX barcodes on here or anything, but at the very least, it's period correct. So this wouldn't be the drive I chose, but it should be an alright drive. Now, normally Alchemy machines have 2 ATA headers on the board. This only has 1. And for some reason, yeah, I don't know why they did that. It's like, why would you not want, both ATA devices? It's not like you could master slave any of it. This thing is also uncooperative. It's not how you're supposed to go. Come on now. Winner indeed. Okay, so we're not actually going to plug that in yet. These old hard drives don't need any more power cycles. Probably should have done this floppy connector before, but it's okay. Alright. So all that hullabaloo's in place. So go ahead and put this riser back. This can go there. I guess we'll use the riser since it's here, but again, I don't understand. It doesn't, there's no tangible benefit here. I don't understand. This thing had an SMC network card in it. I never liked these because these are super fragile. You got to be real careful when you put them in. One of the things about this generic LPX case is that even though it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slots on it, most of these machines only ever let you use like 3 cards. This one's got 4 if you've got the COM slot, blanking plate, and whatnot, which is odd because I've never seen a clone use COM slot. Anyway, because it's got these extra blanking plates over here for the slot covers, you can use either a double height card, if those existed in the 90s, or a card that had like a daughter board sort of breakout, or any sort of thing that had like a pass-through that used one of these blanking plates. So that's... So it should be okay. Let's turn the switch back on. And well, so goes Kabam. So that's a plus. This looks like a Panasonic CD-ROM drive. Let's find out. Maybe. Yeah, Matsushita CR507. Cool. I need to check the jumpers. Jumpers. Go ahead and terminate you. Yeah, if I was going to be making one of these machines, I would have definitely put that double ATA header on here and used an ATA CD drive, because those have to have been cheaper than a SCSI equivalent, but you know, maybe they were about the same. I mean, they were going to be expensive either way you cut it. SCSI was still marginally faster than ATA back in the day, even though this is just standard SCSI. Nobody did fast SCSI yet. Well, not on this low-end sort of stuff. Apple did have some fast SCSI drives available, but They were pretty much only in the high-end machines. This one only has standard SCSI, which is 5 megs. And there's only one SCSI bus. Fine, where's my deal? I'll just take that. Audio cable for whatever it's worth. It doesn't matter, they can all just mostly come up here. That in. ETA connector. Alright, let's see. I wonder how much RAM this is. It's probably an 8 or a 16. Pop it in over here. That's good and seated. Pick up the speaker donut. All right. All right, well, let's see if we get some video. There goes the winner. Hey, there it goes. And hey, it's booting. Magic. Nope, comment. Yeah, this is German. It looks like it works. So let's see if we get to the desktop and get this off of here. Yeah, that's better. The winner has an activity light, which is nice. So I haven't put the level 2 cache back in yet. So I wanted to see if it'll boot without it. Sometimes it goes bad. So should have started with extensions off, I guess. Might be waiting for something. Well, if it gets to the desktop, I'll come back. We made it to the desktop. Alright, so I'm going through the extensions and whatnot. I didn't see anything that should have caused it to hang. At least not that far soon in the boot process. Doesn't have anything too weird. There's the Ethernet controller driver, and it's got no, not you. This thing's really slow. It's got 48 megs of RAM, so that's a 32 meg stick. So, all right. Close that. So what we're gonna do is shut down and see if I can get this thing to work with its level 2 cache. Maybe that will help a bit. That's Charlton. So here's the L2 cache card this unit came with. It's probably 256K, like most of them are. There were at least 3 different cache cards you could get for the various Power Macs. So this is this variety. Most of the PCI versions shared the same card style. So if that one doesn't work, I can't use this one because you can see they're different. See how those don't line up? Yeah, so this one runs at higher speed than this one does. I'm pretty sure is the deal. This is out of a 604 based unit. This is out of a 603. So I should have more of these around somewhere. I think I've got more of the 604 cards than the 603 style, which is too bad because I really need a bunch of the 603 cards. So you basically just drop it in and press straight down, wiggle it a little, and let's boot. There goes the winner. And we've already got raster, so that's good. We're going to do extensions off this time. Turn this off. Winner's going to town there. Sorry, I just enjoy the name Winner. It's just kind of goofy. The winner. Yes, that's delightful. But being so freaking noisy. I turn that down and it still makes sound. Alright, yep, there we go. Those are 256 kilobytes of cache. It's clearly a Alchemy board. 200 megacycles with a 603 EV. What do we got here? CD-ROM. There's probably our Ethernet card. Medium, yes. Matsushita. Winner 3. That's right, but recognize. There's not a ton on here. There's toast. You had toast. That's odd. I'm not sure if maybe they kind of remote accessed stuff with this computer or what. Well, this might have been a server. I don't know. Either way, it works. So I guess I can just shut it off and finish putting it back together. So this is basically exactly the same as the power wave that you might have seen on Action Retro's channel. And trace. Alright, so I'll worry about that later. So bottom panel. Yeah, even though these are basically the same case, the UMAX and power computing machines built like this don't have anything to do with one another. They're just kind of parallel evolution, I guess. You could get PCs that use this case as well. The LPX form factor was developed for PCs in the first place. Just that cheap Macs used them too. Yeah, that didn't work. Yeah, this thing does not want to cooperate. So earlier I mentioned the power supply. This is more or less an ATX power supply. It's just got special connectors on it, so you can harvest the harness out of this and put it in a regular ATX power supply to get a newer and more powerful unit. But the power supplies on these and the larger cousin, the S900s, are structural. You can maybe kind of see a little bit down in there. Possibly. Give me this. Give me this here. All right, you see that screw there, and the other screw back right over there, and that bar that's kind of at the back of the power supply. So that's welded to the back of the power supply, and the power supply is more or less structural to this flimsy case. So I have seen ATX power supplies that have that bar and those mounting points on it, but most of them don't have that. So if you wanted to replace that, I don't know, I'd probably suggest finding a normal or a power supply with one of those bars on it. Because yeah, these cases are pretty flimsy if you don't have them all screwed together. And unlike some of the other machines, this one doesn't have reset or NMI buttons on the front. I mean, I could do without NMI, but a reset button's always welcome. But I think that's it. So the case is this lovely flimsy deal here. So nice and floppity. It's got this bar on the back. So we'll just drop that back on. Come on, you. Don't mess with me. Stay. Yeah, these were not anybody's finest hour. They were made to be cheap. I mean, arguably, between this and the comparable Mac at the time, I'd probably take this. Just because the cases on a lot of those things were awful. I mean, this one's not, you know, stellar by any means, and it's a little special screw. Kind of goes in up here. maybe. Come on now. There we go. You got your stupid snaps down at the bottom. So there it is. APUS 3000. Oh, fancy. Alright. Enough of that. Hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe, etc.